welcome back. Beautifully Belly here with another video. So today is something a little different. I actually am doing a let's talk. So this video will be let's talk about finances. If you're interested in finding 6 tips that will help you with your finances, stay tuned. Hey guys, so let's jump right into the video. And I do have my trusty dusty notes as usual, so I will be looking down. Okay. Step number 1, live on a budget. Oh my goodness, can't tell you how important this is. Budgeting your money, writing down all your expenses versus how much money you're bringing in or out. Budgeting will help you keep track of the money coming in versus what's coming out. The point of budgeting is not for your amount of bills or your expenses to equal up to the amount of money that you have. The amount of money that you have should always be more than your expenses. It helps keep track of what's going in and out. And the point is not to have your bills amount. I said that. Okay. Tip number 2. Set aside an amount that you can commit to saving every month. So when you're budgeting, once your expenses is paid, you should have a column over here. Like this is your expenses column with your total at the bottom telling you how much you have to put out versus this column, which shows you how much money you actually have. So once you deduct this amount from the amount that you already have as a whole, you should have a remaining balance. Out of that remaining balance, you should be able to say, well, I can commit to saving $100 a month, $300 a month, $500 a month, $50 a month, whatever you can afford with that remaining balance. Make sure that you're putting it into your savings account. Whether that's during your direct deposit. And that's another thing. If you're one of those people that say, I have a problem with saving, if I have the money or I get the money, I'll spend it. You can go to your HR department and you can ask for another direct deposit slip. And some companies give you the option to directly deposit in more than one account. So if your job offers that, make sure you go and fill out a direct deposit slip telling them to put this amount in your checkings and this amount into your savings. And if the money's going straight into your savings, you won't even realize that you're saving money. And you can't miss it because you never saw it. So that's a really good tip. And again, when you're saying I can commit to saving this amount, it can be on a weekly basis, bi-weekly, monthly, annual basis. If you like, I would stay away from the annual thing because what people will tend to do is say, oh, well, I can just make up for last month. I can just make up for 2 months. I can just make up for 3 months. And then the year has passed and you never caught up because you waited too long. So if you're going to do it on an annual basis, saying I want to have $10,000 saved by the end of the year, I would definitely break it down to smaller increments, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. I would stay in those 3 categories. And what else do I have? And the reason why savings is so important because it can protect you from financial loss in the future. Nothing is really guaranteed. We can have a job 1 minute and that job can be taken away from us. We can be replaced. You want to make sure you at least have 3 to 6 months worth of savings. In case that happens, you can still, pay your bills without having to struggle and try to give yourself a little cushion while you're looking, you're still looking for employment. Tip number 3, save for retirement, people. In our community, in the African American community, this is something that we don't talk about enough. I remember when I was younger, about just thinking about how much money that have passed through my hands. And I would always say, man, I wish that I could buy some stock. I wish that I could invest. I wish that I had an account that I could just start saving for my retirement, whatever the case may be. And that's really important. It's really important to start saving while you're young. The younger you start saving for retirement, the better off you will be, guys. This is not... this is not like my opinion. This is how it really is. The earlier you start saving for retirement, the better off you will be, because you cannot depend on Social Security. It may not be here, so you want to make sure that you're not one of those older people that have to depend on deciding between paying for medication or eating cat food. Like, that's a lot of things that a lot of people who didn't save for retirement have to go through, or depending on the state or the government. It's not enough. Social Security is just not enough. So yeah, make sure that you're saving for retirement as early as possible. Step number 4, student loans. We know we have a big problem with the student loan debt in this country. What I would say about student loans, a person who went through school and had a large amount of student loans, if you have an amount of student loans that I might not be able to pay this off in 10 years, consolidate if need be. Make sure that you're on the right payment plan. They have 10-year payment plans. If you consolidate your loans, they'll give you 30 years to pay it. Make sure you're on a payment plan that reflects your income. So make sure that you're utilizing the income-based payment plan. So say if I'm making $50,000 one year, my student loan payment will be based on that 50,000. But then say next year, I only end up making $10,000 because, or whatever reason, they now have to base my student loan payment amount off of that $10,000. So do not be ashamed to use the income-based program. When you're out of college, it's not like you can just jump right back in and, start paying $1,000 back so that you can be out of debt in 10 years. Do not kill yourself like that. Would I recommend paying 30 years? No, I wouldn't. But if you have a large amount, $100,000, $150,000 in student loans, you're going to have to do something very spectacular in order to pay that large amount off in 10 years. So do what you feel is best for you, but do not be ashamed to consolidate if needed and use some of the income-based programming. In addition to that, if you are a person who is disabled and you have your Social Security award letter and it says that your review is every 5 to 7 years, you can apply to have your student loans discharged, because through the loan forgiveness program, the government cannot expect you to pay back student loan money if you are now disabled. Again, if your review says 5 to 7 years, you'll be reviewed every 5 to 7 years, you qualify. The other qualification that you can go through in case your Social Security award doesn't say 5 to 7 years, I know mine doesn't. Mine say every 3 years because they're assuming that I'm going to get better, but I know I'm not going to get better, and so does my doctors. So in cases like that, you can get a physician certification form filled out. Your physician can fill it out stating that because of these reasons and these conditions, this person will not be able to gain like a sufficient amount of income or employment in order to pay these loans back. Your doctor can fill that out for you, and they can also forgive your loans that way. Now, what I will tell you about loan forgiveness is that it can affect your credit in some states. In Pennsylvania, it does not. Because usually if they forgive your loans, they can count that as income, even though you didn't earn it. It's actually loans. Some states can count that as income. So you want to look into that. And what was the other thing I had to say? It can affect your credit, but not in Pennsylvania. Yes, you can ask for loan forgiveness. It takes a while. So I applied over the summer, I think in July. I received a letter in September. They said they were going to do it, but it took another 2 months for them to actually take the loans off. I know what I was going to say. Okay, if they forgive your loans, the government will monitor you, and if you're married, you and your spouse's income for 3 years. And depending on what state you live in, you can only make You're not allowed to make over. If it's just you as a single person, you're not allowed to make over a 2 household income. So whatever state you live in, you can Google what is the maximum income for a 2 household house. What would that be? So whatever that number is, you would not be able to make over that amount, or they will give the loans back. Another thing, say they forgive your loans, you do get better, and you're now back working, making good money. The government will give those loans back to you, and you will have to pay them off. So just keep that in mind. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hurry up because this video is so long. I talked about the plan if you are disabled. I talked about that. Yep, I talked about that. Okay, sorry guys. Is that number 4? Okay, number 5. Try to keep a handle on your debt, guys. For those who have credit cards, anybody, whether you have a job, you don't have a job, you're disabled, you're not disabled, keep a handle on your debt. It's very, 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 very crucial to your credit. I know a lot of people say, well, I don't need credit. As long as I have the cash, then I can get it. Unfortunately, in some cases that works, and in a lot of other cases it doesn't. The United States of America is a country that thrives off of credit. Credit is like, when people pull your credit, it's like, this is the type of person you is. It kind of, in a way, gives the bank a type of synopsis about you. Are you a person who's reliable? Can you pay your bills on time? Do you pay your bills in full? Do you pay your bills off before, you know what I'm saying? Do you carry a higher balance? What is it that you do? So be mindful of your credit. Credit is important. It really, really is. So try to keep a handle on your debt. Ask yourself when you're buying things, is this something that I need or something that I want? Now, when I'm saying this is after you pay all your bills, you put your money in savings. And the other thing about savings, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to jump back real quick. You should always have more than one savings account. More than one. You should have a savings account for your household, having 3 to 6 months worth of finances just in case of like job loss or you get hurt or whatever the case may be. You should also have a retirement fund savings account, and you should always have a rainy day savings account. So say if you're a homeowner, you should be throwing money into an account just in case the roof breaks or needs to be repaired, the water heater goes, you need washer. You should have at least 3 savings accounts. At least. Okay, so after we paid our bills, after we put our monies in savings, these are the questions that we're asking. Now we're saying, I have this last little bit of money. Some people can't just put it in a pocket and let it sit there. Some people have to spend it. Ask yourself, is this something that I need or something that I want? Can I afford to pay for this purchase with cash? And if not, how long is it going to take me to pay the interest off plus the amount of the charge off of my credit card? So the thing about credit card usage is that, one, you always want to stay under 10%. Now you can go to 30%, but it's not, the creditors won't look at that as being financially responsible. So you want to stay under 10% of your credit limit. And if you sign up for like a credit monitoring service, it will tell you what your credit card usage percentage is. Like I use Credit Karma, and it'll tell you you're at 9%, you're at 5%. It'll also tell you, wow, your balance increased by $1,900 this month, or wow, your balance is decreased by $654 a month. It will keep track of all that. It will tell you when to get a new credit card, credit cards that you're probably eligible for when your score goes up and down, things like that. So if you use a credit monitoring service, you can keep track of your credit card usage that way, right? Can you pay it with cash? If not, how long? How will this affect your budgeting in the long run? So say I go to Home Goods and I see a TV stand, and the TV stand is $200. Okay, one, do I need this TV stand right now? Now, say I did everything I wanted to do and I just wanted to do something for myself. Okay, I'll buy the TV stand if that's what I choose to do. Am I going to use cash? If I have cash on me, I will use it. But if I use my credit card, I now need to see, because I'm on a budget, how am I going to budget down paying this off? Am I going to pay the $200 off at one time? If I do, how will it affect my other bills? If I break it down in smaller increments, say I'm paying $50 a month for 4 months, how many, like the interest that I'll accrue with it, will it make a difference? Is that going to help my budgeting? Will it help me at all? Oh God, my husband has called me. I'm sorry. I have to decline it. I can't edit that out, y'all. I'm sorry. I did tell him I was recording and I was almost done. And I lost my train of thought. How will it affect me if I decide to pay it over 4 months? Or say I say I'm going to pay it $50 a week. That probably would be the best, because I'm going to not accrue as many charges if I pay it faster in smaller increments, based on, instead of saying I'll pay it $50 a month for 4 months. If y'all understand, if you're following me, which you should. So if you have to use your credit card, think of things like that. Now, what I'll say is, if you have credit cards and you don't use them as much because you're a person who likes to use cash or your credit card, or not your credit card, your debit card, then I would say, in order to keep those accounts open, just use your credit cards for small purchases, like say gas, or say you go to Target or Walmart. You can pay for your purchase with your credit card at the counter, and then go right to customer service and pay that same amount off your credit card. And that will keep your credit cards open. It will keep them revolving, because this is what I will say. A lot of people tend to make a mistake of opening up credit cards, getting these huge balances, paying them off, and then closing the credit card. Do not do that. Do not do that. You want to keep those credit cards open. You want to keep those revolving accounts open, because when you do go apply for credit, those agencies have something to look back on. If you pay everything off and then you close it, you're just showing your payment history for that particular time. Another thing creditors like to see is if you have a large amount of credit and you're not using a lot of that credit. That's a bigger thing. That's another thing why it's important for people to keep those credit card balances open. Now, does that mean you have to use the credit card? No. You can lock it away. You can cut it up. You can do whatever you need to do in order not to use it, but you need to keep those balances open. So, yeah, guys. And then I have one more tip. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes. I just need to make sure I covered everything. Can you pay with cash? Keep the credit under 10%. Did I say that? I think I did. For bigger balances, divide it over months in order to pay it off quicker. And when I'm saying bigger balances, $1,000 and up, if you need to break those balances down, depending on what your budget is, whatever your income level is, try to get that stuff paid off. And tip number 6 is go over your current bills, right? This is another thing that will open up a lot of money for you guys if you're struggling with your budget. If your budget is coming very close to the amount of money you have you have available, you need to make a decision. You have to reevaluate your bills. Like, for example, do I have cable and I have Netflix and I have Hulu? You know what I'm saying? Do you really need all that? So you need to make a decision. Am I going to keep cable? If not, whatever you was watching on cable, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube or whatever. And then do you need the 2 streaming services? And the reason why I say this, guys, because all these tips that I gave y'all, these are things that I had to do for myself. I have always been the financial person in our household. I'm the one who handles the finances. And there was a time when I stopped working, the last time I was working, and I was without an income for a whole month. I mean, not a whole month, I'm sorry, a whole year. And I was able to bring the household bills down to at least $100 a month. Um, and that's not including the rent. That's something separate, but I'm talking about bills only. Rent is something that you have to pay, but bills are something different. Bills are things that you choose to have. So like making sure I apply for light heat so that my electric bill would be paid. Okay. Electric is the only bill that I really have in my house other than rent, right? So everything in my house runs off the electric. So I needed to make sure that my electric was paid. I did apply for light heat this year. I made sure that I would have my rent money every month. And then cut down a lot of other stuff. Like we had Netflix. We didn't have Hulu. We just had Netflix. So it is things that you can do in order to make sure that you're not drowning. Another thing I did, I'm not going to sit up here and lie. When I was out of work for that year without any income, I did have to use my credit cards. I lived off my credit cards. Thank God I have huge balances on them. But the fact of the matter is, when I finally did start receiving my Social Security, that money that I received, the back pay, I divided it right down the middle and paid each credit card. One of them I was able to pay off completely, and one of them I had like $1,000 left on. And I had over $10,000 worth of debt not the beginning of 2020, but the beginning of 2019. And then before that, when I was out, after the year went, I still didn't have any income, but I had savings. But I waited to use my savings because I knew that I can diminish my bills significantly. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting lost for words. I knew that I could reduce my bills significantly, so it was no reason for me to tap into that $10,000. That's what I was pinching, the $100. You know what I'm saying? My son was paying my car insurance. I didn't have to worry about that because he was working at the time. I didn't have to worry about my car insurance. My car was paid off. So I was just pinching out that $10,000. And once that money was gone, that's when the second year came around and I had to live off those credit cards. But then I was able to pay that balance down. So again, guys, I'm not telling you anything that I haven't done myself. Yeah. So I'm not going to keep y'all too much longer. This video is already long enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you agree with the information that I gave? Do you have any tips that you can give me? And if you try to go by these little tips, let me know how it worked out. All right, guys, if nobody told you that you're enough today, you are just the way you are with no strings attached. And if no one told you that they love you today, I love you. So until next time, guys, peace, love, and blessings. Until the next one. One more thing. Make sure you always have multiple sources of revenue. Do not just have a job and think that's enough. Get you an online business, an offline business, a side hustle or something. You have to have more than one source of income nowadays. All right, guys, until the next one.